Hi, this is Tiffany Smietana from Hebron Lutheran Church. This is April 5th, 2020, and it is Palm Sunday. You should have gotten your palms in the mail. If not, they'll be coming to you in the mail in these cute little crosses. For Palm Sunday this week, we are going to be talking about the Last Supper. The Last Supper is Passover, which will happen on Thursday of this week. Before we tell the story, though, we are going to be making some bread. In the Bible, the Last Supper is sometimes referred to as the Festival of Unleavened Bread. Unleavened bread means that there's no yeast in it. It's not going to rise. It's just a very simple bread with only a few ingredients. These ingredients you probably have at home, so you can make this. And I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? So we are going to use a big glass bowl. And the ingredients we're going to put in first is we're going to put in 1 egg. Okay, we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. Okay, we're going to put in 1.5 tablespoons of softened butter. So this butter did not come straight out of the refrigerator. You leave it sit on the counter for a little bit till it gets soft. And you can half a cup of cold water. And we're going to do 4 tablespoons of honey. 4 tablespoons is also equal to 1/4 cup. So we're going to pour the honey into there. Okay, that is our 1/4 cup. And we're going to use our rubber scraper to scrape it in there. Okay, I want you to mix this together with your rubber scraper so everything is combined very well. Butter chunks in there, that's okay, because whenever we knead it with our hands, we can break those up. All right, we're going to use our flour now. And with our flour, we're going to use 2.5 cups. So start by using a rubber scraper and mixing that together. Once it starts to get a little tough, then we're going to use our hands. Now we're starting to get a little too tough for our rubber scraper, so we're going to put that aside. And this is what it would look like whenever you're ready to use your hands. My hands are washed and my hair is up, so no germs are going to get into my food. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of flour down on the table, a little bit, and we are going to dump the dough onto the table. Okay, make sure you get all the pieces. There's some that's stuck in the bowl. And we're going to squeeze it together with our hands. Now, it is going to be a little mushy on the inside because we still have a lot of flour to get in there yet. Okay, so to knead it, you're going to kind of place it down anyway. Fold it in half, whatever shape you make. Fold it in half towards you again, and always press down with the heel of your hands. Okay, once you keep pressing it down hot dog style towards you a few times, you're going to fold it hamburger style, turn it, and do that same thing again. Heel of your hand, fold it towards you. Heel of your hand, fold it towards you. See how this bread, I'm going to push my fingers in it, and it starts to bounce back a little bit. We're pretty much done. We're just going to split this into 6 sections. So I'm going to split it in half. And then once it's in half, I'm going to split the half into 3 pieces. Equal pieces. Try to make them as equal as possible. Kind of even them out. I have my 6 dough balls here, and you're going to take it in your hand, and if you've ever made hamburgers before, you're going to smash it down like you're making a hamburger patty. Okay, try to make it a circle. It can be, if you want to make it a funky shape, you can do that, but you're going to press it down. Okay, as best as you can. Okay, and we're going to place them on a cookie sheet. I always put parchment paper down on a cookie sheet. If you don't have parchment paper, you can just spray it with cooking spray. So I'll fill that into the camera view in a second, but we're going to put our circles like this They're about that thin, pretty thin, about as thin as a hamburger patty. Now that all 6 pieces are on our tray, we are going to poke holes in the bread using a fork. And I'm talking a lot of holes. Like, really go at that bread with your fork. You can even poke your initials into the bread with the fork if you want, but I'm talking a lot of holes. A little bit more than that. Okay, we want all those holes in there. That's going to let some air in during baking. Okay, here's our bread with holes in it. We're going to stick this in the oven at 400 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. While it's in the oven, I'm going to tell you the story about the Last Supper, Passover, which is this Thursday. So our story starts out with Judas and some priests. It doesn't start out with Jesus. So Judas goes up to the priests, and we know that the priests are after Jesus. And Judas is like, hey, priests, if I tell you where Jesus is and I give him up to you, how much will you give me? What reward will I get for that? So the priests count out 30 pieces of silver. And they're like, here you go, Judas. If you show us where Jesus is and you give up Jesus, here's 30 pieces of silver. And Judas is like, you got it. I will give you Jesus. Later on in the day, Jesus has his Last Supper with his 12 disciples. And before they eat, they're all sitting there. And Jesus is like, one of you here, at least one of you tonight, will betray me. And Judas looks at Jesus. He says, you don't mean me, do you? And Jesus is like, one of you will betray me. You know who you are. At least one of you will. Then it was time to eat. And what is the saying that Pastor always says whenever we take communion? He holds up the wafer, then he holds up the chalice. What does he always say? So Pastor holds up the wafer and says, this is my body given for you. Eat this, do this in remembrance of me, which is what Jesus said to the disciples as he passed out bread. He said, this is my body. Then, during service, Pastor holds up the chalice or the cup of wine. And he said, this is my blood given for you. Drink this, consume it, think of me as you do. Just as Jesus gave the disciples wine and told them the same thing. Okay? So the reason that we say that during communion is it was said during the Last Supper. Our bread is done and out of the oven. If you forgot to set a timer or you lost track of time, what you're going to do is peek in the oven and look for the edges to turn a little bit brown. Like this, that it's steaming, it's nice. It's a little hot, so we're going to let it cool a little bit before we eat it. But what you can do is you can eat this with whatever dinner you have on Thursday, on Passover, and happy Palm Sunday. Have a great Holy Week and have a wonderful Easter.